Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today. As here, we have this article from Crypto Basic stating a Wells Fargo staff member predicts that XRP could hit, you're ready for it, $100 to $500 in the next 2 to 7 months. And ladies and gentlemen, I think all of you know where I stand where it comes to this prediction. But if you don't, I'm going to put it to you this way. I do not believe that we are going to be heading to the $100 to $500 range in the next couple months. There is not an analyst that I have talked to that can realistically find a way that we can reach this $100 to $500 range at all. And this is one of the things that I continuously try to talk against. The reason being is because too many retail investors and people that follow me specifically get blindsided by these high price targets that eventually don't come, and then they don't sell any of their XRP at all once these targets don't come. And what ends up happening is you end up over hodling. You end up not taking any profits at realistic values to help make your life better. And then, that's when you start to regret it. And that's when you start to hate XRP. But in reality, it's these absurd targets at levels we're not ready for yet that makes it so you can't profit. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make myself clear. I believe anything is possible when it comes to XRP, genuinely. But I'm not going to be sitting here waiting for a $100 to $500 price when we haven't even reached all-time highs yet. There's personally 20% of my XRP that I'm never really looking to sell. And because of that, I will benefit from these higher values if they do come. But you better believe, if we hit some targets that I have discussed on my channel publicly, I will be taking profits. And I will be using that in my personal life to improve some things drastically. I've been waiting too damn long for XRP. And I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the exact same way. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before I continue with anything else in this video, I want to play you a clip from the Patrick Bet-David podcast of him discussing with George Gammon what is very possible from the Federal Reserve interest rate hikes and the upcoming recession in the next couple months. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in unprecedented territory when it comes to the macro and fiscal policy. And I genuinely think we're about to reach a powerful breaking point that we can't return from.
One of the presentations from this weekend, a good friend of mine, Jeff Snyder, who's probably the smartest guy I've ever met, he looks at those curves, like the near-term forward spread, which is basically the current 3-month Treasury yield minus the 3-year Treasury yield that the market expects in 18 months, based on a variety of factors.
The priced in.
The yield.
Right.
So you look at the current 3-month yield compared to what the market is predicting the 3-month yield will be in 18 months. And then you subtract that. And right now, there's like a 200 basis point inversion. So what the market is saying is that they're predicting in 18 months, or within that time frame, the 3-month Treasury yield will be 200 basis points lower than it is today. So then he said, you got to sit back and ask yourself, what does that mean? What if the 3-month Treasury yield goes down by that much? What would the economic environment have to look like? And where would the Fed have to have interest rates as a result of that economic environment? And some of the conclusions that he came to is he thought that unemployment would be at double digits by the end of this year.
Double digits unemployment.
Double digits, and he thought that based on that, and based on the yield curve, the normal yield curve, and the near-term forward spread, and the Eurodollar futures curve and whatnot, that the Fed would most likely be at 0% by the end of this year.
Hold on, George, what you're saying is pretty shocking. You're saying it's at 3.5% now by the end of the year.
No, it's not at 3. No, the Fed funds is right now.
I thought you were talking about unemployment rate.
Well, yeah, I am. I'm sorry. I'm talking about
gotcha.
unemployment as well. So unemployment goes from 3.5% to double digits by the end of this year. And the recession that's producing that causes the Fed to take rates, Fed funds, down from, let's say, 5% all the way back down to 0%. And and then think about what type of economy. Think about the banking crisis. Think about the black swan event that we would have to have in order for the Fed to drop rates that quickly. And another thing that I would add, there's a big psychological component here, right? Because you guys, if you study history, you guys know that history remembers Paul Volcker very well. It does not remember Arthur Burns well, right? And he was the Fed chair that preceded Paul Volcker. Everyone thinks that he didn't have the balls, basically, to take interest rates high enough to break the back of inflation. And sure enough, Paul Volcker comes in, and he had the huevos to get in there and do what needed to be done, even though it was very unpopular. So if you're Jerome Powell, who do you want to be remembered as? Obviously, Paul Volcker. So from a psychological standpoint, that puts him in a place where if he's going to err on one side or the other, he's going to err on the side of taking rates too high. But you see, the market knows that. And even when you include that psychological component, they still are betting that he's going to take rates almost down to zero or around that area by the end of this year.
Baby and Snyder?
No, the market. Because if you look at how the market is placing their bets, the bond market, as an example, that's what they're saying is going to come to fruition. And the bond market is the smart money. I mean, if you look at just the basic yield curve with the 2-year Treasury and the 10-year Treasury, you can take that all the way back to 1950s. And that has almost 100% accuracy. When that inverts, 99% of the time, you get a recession.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, something I want you to take away from that George Gammon commentary or the potential black swan style events that could cause that economic environment he was discussing. He was talking about how the smart money is positioning and predicting a potential rate cut all the way down to zero. And what could cause this? What could cause this level of recession? Well, we have a lot of things in place, don't we? We have alien and UFO narratives coming from a recent congressional hearing. We have the family of a current administration under massive fire and instability in U.S. politics, as well as escalations between Russia and Ukraine. We are genuinely reaching a critical point when it comes to the geopolitical environment in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what I'm going to say. Typically, when things like this happen, they are black swan style events to distract us from something else. That doesn't mean it's not happening in the world, but what it does mean is they want us to look over here while something else is going on over there. The health crisis in 2020 was the absolute best opportunity to make the most possible money you could have. Now, I believe this is your second chance. In the next couple months, I have been talking about a crash in October that I still think is likely. And I think one of the big reasons why it could happen is because of an event like this that we need to anticipate. I've been talking about for the last couple months that I've had a big cash position ready, and for the most part, I've kept most of it on the side. Over the past couple days, I've been dabbling with a couple tokens here and there that I've been discussing on my OnlyFans. However, for the most part, I'm waiting with my cash position and I have my alts ready to go. Recently, with the launching of X, we have a very real possibility of the infrastructure of the new financial system being in place through the social media platform of Twitter. And this is what Elon Musk had to say.
There's a product plan I wrote, which I wish I'd kept a copy of in July of 2000, where I thought it would be possible to make the most valuable financial institution in the world. And we're going to execute that plan from 22 years ago, which amazingly no one has done. And so I think that's part of why I think Twitter will be ultimately extremely valuable because I'm going to execute the X.com game plan from 22 years ago with some improvements. And then we're also going to obviously make Twitter just a way better.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I keep bringing up the importance of X.com and their role in integrating both crypto and finances onto their platform on social media is because the SEC is doing their absolute best to spread their tyrannical reign over crypto and limit overall adoption. Guys, I'm going to make this point and I'm going to make it now. I'm a big believer in the idea that Gary Gensler is one of the dumbest operatives for the Democratic Party I've ever seen. The SEC literally asked Coinbase to halt crypto trading yesterday. The SEC in the same breath allowed Coinbase to go public under Gary Gensler, by the way, approved their business model, and after years, destroying their business. Selling crypto assets is Coinbase's revenue source. And I could argue and sit here right now and say that Gary Gensler is the biggest cause of market manipulation and wealth destruction in the crypto market. Gary Gensler is one of the most incompetent actors I've ever seen. Not just at the SEC, but historically. He even ruined the CFTC when he was over there as well. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we hear many conversations of people from Congress and also different CEOs praising the Ripple decision by Judge Torres and praising the direction we're going in because of it. Judge Torres may very well have saved crypto in America. And I think entrepreneurs as a whole are going to be looking to undermine the SEC's authority because, quite frankly, they don't deserve it.
Congratulations, Judge Torres. I think, I don't know her, but, she really put her finger on, a really important aspect of this. Are we looking at, the transactions, or are we looking at the asset? And I think if you look at the Howie case, and then you look at, what is an investment contract, which is, the Supreme Court took a stab at it back in whenever it was 1946 to figure out, okay, what does that actually mean? So they came up with a test that, has the term in their expectation. And so expectation of profit. And so, she parsed it out and applied it to the facts at hand, and we'll see whether or not that stands scrutiny, because this will be inevitably appealed, I'm sure. And, I'm sure both sides think that they'll ultimately prevail. I do think that these sorts of questions, whether it be in Ripple or something else, will go up to the Supreme Court. And since this is all judge-made rules and by the Supreme Court itself, I think they're the appropriate ones, in the first instance here, since it's coming up to them, to try to clean up this mess. And then obviously Congress is there, but they're kind of dysfunctional. And so I don't really see anything immediately on the horizon. Maybe this will spur them as other judges try to, deal with applying, these sorts of this sort of tests to other cases. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But I do think that I think the Ripple folks here have a very strong case to to push forward.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are three things that you could take from this. One, people are beginning to realize the SEC's incompetence. Two, people in the pro-crypto camp of Congress are beginning to push through legislation and trying their absolute best to get bipartisan support. And while Congress is incompetent, they are looking to accelerate rules because, three, we cannot allow the U.S. to not be involved in this revolution at all. FedNow just went live recently. This was the first step in helping digitizing faster payments. And I believe the world is about to accelerate over the next couple years faster than we even expect. Here, Richie Torres was talking in Congress exactly about what we were just discussing. And you all need to understand that we're heading in the right direction and finally getting some positive crypto regulation passed.
SEC has not issued a single rule clarifying the application of securities law to digital assets. There's been no written guidance. We've heard mixed messaging not only between the CFTC and the SEC, but within the SEC itself. The CFTC tells us that Ether's a commodity. The SEC has said that it's a security. Mr. Gensler first said that Ether's too decentralized to be a security. Then he said it was a security, and then under questioning from Chair McHenry, he said that it depends. I mean, if you consider that regulatory clarity, then you live in a different planet for me. I am confused by the mixed messaging, by the lack of rules and guidance that have been provided by the agency. And this legislation is far from perfect, but it represents a good faith attempt to bring clarity to an area where none exists. And I associate myself with the comments of Congressman Himes and Congressman Nickel, and I will support the legislation. I will not let the enemy, the perfect be the enemy.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Things are finally beginning to go in our direction. If this XRP case did not go in a favorable direction, we would be in a much worse state for the crypto market. XRP quite literally saved all of crypto. And I think I speak for all of us when I say fuck the SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, to cap off this video for today, I'd just like to remind all of you that the fuck the SEC t-shirts that this community member is wearing is available on my website down in the description below. And I would ask that all of you get one of your favorite shirts before they completely sell out. I've been enjoying seeing every single one of you getting your merch recently. And continue to send me photos as you get them in the mail. And now something else I'll say is that for every single one of you that have been getting a shirt in the mail, there'll be an extra surprise package coming directly from me, coming for all of you as well. Wink, wink. I think you'll love it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.